New reaction coming from the White House after Vladimir Putin says Russia has a, quote, invincible nuclear weapon that cannot be intercepted. Who better to talk about this than former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, John Bolton? The Russians released a video of missiles hitting Florida that smacks of Kim Jong-un and North Korea. I can't imagine if the U.S. put out a video, a cartoon of our missiles hitting Moscow, what the reaction around the world would be.
Yeah, my reaction was exactly the same. They've hired Kim Jong-un's publicist, I guess, for this speech. Look, we've known about this hypersonic cruise missile. We've known about the capabilities they're trying to develop with a nuclear-fueled missile. We're doing a lot of the same sort of thing. Putin is, I think, making a propaganda claim here, and of course he's blaming us for this. He's saying, if you hadn't gotten out of the 1972 anti-ballistic missile treaty, I wouldn't have to do this. That's complete nonsense, and he knows it. So he's trying to justify a substantial increase in Russia's capabilities by blaming it on us.
But why would Putin ratchet up a potential nuclear showdown with the U.S.? Why would he do it now?
I think this is part of Putin trying to make Russia into a great power again. They've got an election coming up a couple weeks. That's a good pretext to put this out. But I do think he has a larger strategic objective. He's pushing the limits in Eastern and Central Europe and the territory of the former Soviet Union. He's expanded Russian influence in the Near East. And making Russia a bigger nuclear power again, I think, is part of his objective.
I want to get to what Sarah Sanders, the White House press secretary, said yesterday at the press briefing about this issue, and then get your reaction to that. Oh, we don't have the sound. So Sarah Sanders says that, you know, while Putin may say his nukes are second to none, the U.S. defenses are second to none.
Yeah.
So who's right and who's wrong, and does it matter?
Well, it's certainly the case that that these missiles, if they work, are really not subject to our ballistic missile defenses because they don't follow a ballistic trajectory. But we can create defenses for them. We'll do it. I wish we had not lost 8 years during the Obama administration. And nobody, I think, should doubt this president, who is clearly not Barack Obama, that he's not going to allow Russia to gain this advantage or give it to anybody else like North Korea.
Well, they're going to spend $700 billion on defense, and some of that has to do with missile defense.
There's a big increase in missile defense. We need a lot more over time.
On Fox and Friends this morning, Condoleezza Rice spoke about sanctions against Russia, in part because of what Putin is saying. Let's listen to Condoleezza Rice.
I actually think sanctions against Putin and his inner circle are very effective. I'd be a little careful about sanctions on some aspects of the economy because there are some young Russians there for whom contact with the West is really important. We want to isolate Putin and Putinism, but we don't want to isolate the Russian people.
For how long
What do you think?
I don't have any trouble sanctioning Putin and his cronies, but I don't think ultimately that's effective. I think it's symbolic. I think if you want to punish a country for behavior you don't accept, you need punishing sanctions. They need to be broad and not targeted, and they need to be enforced.
Do we need to worry about this now?
Well, I think anytime you see a country with thousands of nuclear weapons increasing its delivery capabilities, it's worth worrying about, no question about it. And remembering that China is not far behind Russia.
Ambassador John Bolton, we appreciate your insight.
Glad to be with you.
Sir.